Well, you're not going on this dive vacation, so I don't know what your plans are. Hello, everyone. So I'd like to talk about today how to prep your rebreather if you're traveling from the UAE going to a dive vacation, perhaps in Egypt or the Philippines. These are all good dive destinations. For this demonstration, I am using a AP Inspiration XPD. This is the larger rebreather model from AP with the 3-liter cylinders and the 2.5 kg of scrubber. If you have a smaller AP Evolution, that's going to be a little shorter in height, and it's also lighter by a few kg. And of course, you might be diving a completely different rebreather, but what I'd like to do in this video is just take you through the steps, especially for people who haven't traveled with their rebreathers before, and hopefully give you some things to think about. Right, so the first thing you want to do is you want to make sure that you know exactly what your unit weighs. Your rebreather unit, dry, preferably, without the softener line, without the sorb, the carbon dioxide absorbent, and of course the cylinders, which you typically get at your destination. You can't fly with the cylinders anyway, and if you're traveling or you're going on a dive vacation for a rebreather, you're going to be working with a dive center who supports rebreathers. So it's the cylinders, the refills, the carbon dioxide absorbent. This is all stuff you get at your destination, and it makes your overall travel much lighter. If you're traveling by road, you can usually take this stuff, although sometimes, for example, when we're going from the UAE to Oman for diving, the customs and borders may want to x-ray the cylinders, and then there's a risk there that they might not allow them, or it'll definitely delay you. But of course, if you're traveling by road, then this video is not really relevant to you, because you typically don't have a weight issue when you're traveling by road. Weight comes into play when you are going on an airline with, of course, limited allowance. So this is the rebreather without the cylinders and the softener line, but in all other aspects, it is completely ready to dive. It's a full functioning unit. Over here, I have set up a scale to do our measurements. You might not be able to read this because it's a strange shade of blue, but I will do my best to show it, and I'll tell you what it's reading anyway. Now, this cat is in the way. Do you mind moving, buddy, a little bit, perhaps? I did book the studio. I don't know what you're doing here. I don't need your help on this video in particular. Do you want to move? No, you can never get a cat to move, so I'm just going to work around him. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to pick this guy up, right, and put it on this hook here. Okay, here we go. And, oh, kitty's gone. Right, so this is coming to 15.4 kg. And as I mentioned, this is a complete unit ready to dive, and I'll just open the back to show you what is not here. So what is not here is the oxygen cylinder, the diluent cylinder, and of course there's no carbon dioxide absorbent here. And as I mentioned, this is the larger AP Inspiration XPD model with 3-liter cylinders and 2.5 kilograms of softener lime. If you have the Evolution, it's going to be lighter by at least a couple of kg, and it's also a little shorter. Right, let's close this up. Okay, so going back to our scale, we'll let this settle down. It's 15.4. Let's say for the sake of argument, it's 15.5 kg. This is the unit, completely dry, ready to dive. Now, if you have a weight allowance, sometimes you get more than the traditional 25, you might consider putting this in the box. This is the box that the rebreather comes in. It's a standard rebreather box from AP. If you have a different brand, it may or may not have that. The issue that we have is that this box is not very light. It has a bit of weight itself. Let me see if I can just hook this guy on. Here we go. Ooh, another cat. Okay, so as you can see, this box on its own is 5.5 kg, actually a little more than 5.5. It's 5.55. But again, for the sake of discussion, let's say it's 5.5 kg, which means if you take this box and your rebreather, which we said was 15.5, you've just added 5.5 kg to your travel, right? And that's a lot, because you've gone from about 15 kg to more than 20 kg. And the box doesn't serve any other useful purpose other than protecting it. The other problem I have with the box, right, with this box, is that it advertises immediately, especially if you're going to a destination where perhaps, you know, crime might be an issue, or you're going into a, you know, you're going off the beaten path. Do you really want to be advertising at the airport and in other places, hey, I've got a very expensive rebreather with me, I'm diving with a rebreather, come look at my box and look at my rebreather. It's just signaling to, you know, an opportunist that, oh wow, here's a nice piece of kit and all I need to do is just get that box, right? So not only is this box, oh look, that's from my last trip to the Philippines. That's from my last trip. Yeah. Anyway, so I personally don't use this box unless, and here are my reasons, unless I'm going in an expedition model where there's going to be a lot of rough handling, airport, truck, boat, this, that, you know, then it's better to have the rebreather in a dedicated box, and then the almost 6 kg that this box is adding is worth it. Also, if I'm going to be going somewhere where there's a chance there might be, you know, damage or things might fall, the box is designed to protect the rebreather. There's no doubt about it. However, most of our diving is relatively civilized. We get in the car, we go to the airport, stuff gets on the plane, we arrive, we go to the hotel or the dive center, drop off our stuff. In the morning, we assemble everything, we go for a dive. So there's really no need for this level of packaging and protection. And like I said, if you carry this box, it immediately tells people, you know, that, hey, there's a rebreather here. Or there's some expensive dive equipment here. So it's not just the weight, it's also advertising that, you know, you've got something expensive. And I prefer not to do that. I prefer not to do that. So for me, I am not in favor of traveling with the box, right? Unless there is a pressing reason to do so. But just to reconfirm, without the box, our unit ready to dive, right? Just warning, is 15.5 kg, okay? Now, what I'd like to do is, because obviously now this is going to be going in some sort of suitcase, right? And I do have a carry-on. And what I personally like to do, and this is a lot of rebreather divers do this, is that we remove the lid or the handset, right? And in the AP's case, the handset is connected to this lid here, which also has your sensors and everything. I'll show you this later. And we typically remove the lid and the head and all of this. It comes out as one piece, and we put this in our carry-on luggage. And the reason for doing that is that this is the sensitive, delicate part of the whole thing. The rest is pretty bulletproof. You've got regulators, you've got hoses, you've got wings, you've got bladders. It's pretty robust. If you're looking at something that's sensitive in a rebreather, it has to be the sensors, the head, the display, the controller module, the buzzer unit. The AP has a buzzer, it beeps, and of course your HUD. Everything else is very strong. I mean, it's standard dive gear, and you know how strong that can be. So the idea is that we're going to remove the this part and put it in our carry-on because it's safer there, and it's also the most expensive single unit. I mean, yes, the whole rebreather it costs money, but if you look at just one component, the lid or the head together with the controller and everything is the single most expensive item, at least on the AP. So it makes sense to have it with you. So we remove this, and when we remove this, we actually remove some more weight from our check baggage, right? I'll show you exactly how much this weighs in a minute. So I'm going to stop here, and then we'll continue with this removed, and then we'll weigh it again. But so far what we've decided is we're not taking the box because this box weighs almost 6 kg, and for this trip that I'm going to, let's say I'm going to the Philippines, it's a very civilized trip. It's the equipment is not really out of my sight for long. It's always with me, and going for 3-4 days. We are in a well-supported area with roads, and I mean, it's just there's very little chance of impact damage to the unit, and so I don't need this big heavy box. Okay, so without it, I've got a unit at 15.5 kg. We're going to remove the head and lid and take that into our carry-on, and then we'll see what this weighs again, right? So just bear with me while I do that, and we'll come back to you. Okay, welcome back. As you can see, I've removed the head from the rest of the unit, and here it is. For the AP, this is all one unit. You can't disassemble this part. So you've obviously got the controller, you've got your head-up display, your HUD, you've got the buzzer, and all of this connects to what we call the lid. And inside the lid, of course, are your sensors and other bits and pieces. You'll notice that as soon as I remove the lid, I have to disconnect it from the solenoid oxygen supply hose, and it's a really good idea. It is a really good idea to put a cap on this, because this is directly going into the solenoid. There's definitely going to be lint from clothes and dust and stuff like that. You don't want that crap going inside your solenoid, so you want to cap it with a suitable cap. If you can't find a cap, you can just use some masking tape. Just put some masking tape. Just don't get anything inside the solenoid. So that is the head, and as I said, this is going to go in my carry-on. It fits very neatly inside a bag, right? What I like to do is I like to put this inside a plastic bag or a cloth bag, just this part. Actually, you could put all of it if you wanted, but the idea is, again, I don't want debris and other bits and pieces going inside the lid, because remember, this is part of your breathing loop. Anything that goes in here is ultimately going to end up in your lungs. So I just put this in a bag, and that's how it goes into my backpack that I carry onto the plane. Okay, so moving back to now, let's see how much this thing weighs. This is on, oh, hello cat, and pick it up, put it on. Okay, so this is now coming to about 13.7. So we've lost almost 2 kg. We've gone from about 15.5 to 13.7, which tells us that this is the head and the controller and everything is about 2 kg, and it's going in our hand baggage because that's the most expensive part of the rebreather, at least for the AP, and it's also the most delicate part, the most sensitive part. So it makes sense to carry it with us on the plane. This guy is pretty robust, and it can easily travel in the check baggage. So we're down to 13.75. We're down to 13.75 kg on this. And what I'm going to show you next is how I prep this to put it inside a suitcase to optimize the space. Okay, I'll take you into that. And what I'm also going to do is I'm going to give you an idea of the measurements here, the dimensions, the overall width, the height, the depth, which you can also do, and that will help you choose the correct suitcase, like a good carry-on or a roll-on. You know, those are great because then it's easy to just drag them through the airport. It might even fit in some of the larger dive bags, you know, the big dive bags that we get. But again, for me, there's always a concern. I want to keep a low profile when I'm traveling with you know, with expensive equipment. I don't know why, because I've never had a bad experience. Maybe that's why I haven't had a bad experience. But I don't really like to advertise I'm a tourist, number one, and also I'm a diver tourist, right? I just don't like to do that. So those big bags, the big dive bags, are actually really good. They're really robust. With lots of features, but again, I prefer to keep a low profile. You might do things differently, but that's what I do. So now let's cut to the next part of the video, where I'll first show you how to pack this for your suitcase, and then we'll also do some measurements on the dimensions. So just to recap, about 2 kg there for the head, and about 13.75 for this unit. Oh, you're back. Hello, kitty. This is one of my rescue cats. Hey, baby. How are you? How's my little baby? And he's really just recently started coming out of his shell. And the downside to that is he just wants to spend all his time with me. Like, whatever I'm doing, he's gonna be there. Yeah? Which is not always ideal, but it's okay. We'll find a balance. It's okay. Stay. Right. So while this thing is so conveniently hanging here, it's useful just to give you an idea of some measurements. Right. So from the bottom to the top of this case with some of the hoses, let's say 60 centimeters. Okay. So this is about 60 centimeters tall. Okay. And the depth. This hose we're going to remove. I'll show you how I put it inside the case. So, and remember, a lot of this is compressible, right? So let's just say this is about 35, less than 35 actually, but we'll say 35. And then the width, as you can see, the hard width is this one, and this is the soft width. And the soft width could actually come like this. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the hard width and just add a little bit to it. So this is coming to about 40. Let's just say 45, although no, more like, yeah, 40. So we have to find a suitcase that can comfortably take this, and then you can pad it around with your clothes and other bits and pieces. Okay, so here we are. What I like to do is I like to remove these hoses. So I've got my breathing hose, right? And also these guys here, they actually come out. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put these inside the cover at the back. What else you've got here? Let me just put these here for the time being. Okay, you've got this stuff. As you can see, it's all neatly packed up, right? And this will compress. Make sure your bladder is somewhat empty. Okay, and that's what it looks like. Okay, and this is still, you can compress this with other stuff. Now, what I like to do is, okay, this like this, is over here, you've obviously got a lot of space. For example, in this, you can put spares, right? Your rebreather spares, batteries, all kinds of stuff can go in here because you've got a bit of space here. You could even consider putting your dive computers and stuff, but these two hoses come over here very easily, for example, right? And then this guy, make sure the mouthpiece is closed. I just put it here like this, and then all of this just closes, right? So you're not wasting any of the space, okay? The other thing I like to do is I like to put this in the suitcase like this, so it's facing up. The reason is that this is a hard shell, and in case the suitcase does have any impact, the hard shell will absorb most of it. These are the soft parts, and the soft parts can be on top. You might consider putting some clothes, t-shirts, whatever else you're traveling with here. And once this is inside the suitcase, it itself becomes quite padded. And that's it. That's how I'm going to carry it on trips where I'm not taking the box. And the head goes in my carry-on, in my backpack, right?